we can insure almost anything. RVs, boats, jet skis, all that good stuff. No two rates are the same, just like no two people's situations are the same. So you buy a vehicle for $25,000, and 5 years later, that vehicle is only worth about $10,000, and they're going to give you the price for the vehicle that it is at that day.
So this is if you're comparing mortgages to the age of a roof, your age of the roof is equivalent to my credit score. All right, welcome to Major Money Matters. I got my good friend Tyler Simon from Goosehead Insurance. And we're going to talk about 5 important things you must understand about homeowners insurance. Tyler, you and I have talked about this offline and had multiple conversations about this. There's just a lot that people need to understand about homeowners insurance. You know, the state of the market right now as we're in hurricane season again, and we've got a storm brewing off the coast of Louisiana right now that could potentially come into Texas. And I do want to qualify this conversation, although a lot of what we talk about may be relevant to multiple different states. You're licensed in Texas, okay?
That's correct.
So any other states?
Just Texas right now. Okay,
cool. So you're licensed in Texas. So I just want to focus on Texas. If you're listening to this and you're not in Texas, some of this may be relevant. But you want to, contact Tyler, have him refer you to somebody else that might be in your state or something like that to help you out. But this is important, Tyler. First of all, I want to talk about you. Tell us about, your background, where you're from, where you grew up, a little bit about yourself.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me on, Major. My background, I grew up here in the DFW area. I've been in insurance for just about a year or so, and most of my background is in the service industry and hospitality. So a lot of that transitions and translates into the same industry to be able to communicate properly and and give clients a proper understanding of what they are covered for, and a lot of times, more importantly, what they aren't covered for. Now, I grew up around here. I went to school at University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, and made my way back here after about 10 years. And I enjoy helping people. It's what I'm passionate about. And there's nothing better than finding a policy to save somebody money and get them better coverages.
Perfect. And I like you guys at Goosehead, Tyler, because you guys, just like us, you're brokers. Okay. So you search around for the best premium, the best situation for the buyer, because there's no one size fits all. And there are multiple different carriers that you guys have. How many different carriers do you guys have access to, Tyler?
We have over 80 different carriers at our disposal. And that could be anywhere, umbrella, home and autos, flood carriers, anything like that. We're adding more carriers every single day too.
Sure. So you don't just do home insurance, you can do auto insurance and stuff like that also.
Exactly. We do home, auto, umbrella, flood. We can insure almost anything. Your RVs, boats, jet skis, all that good stuff. Anything fun. So a lot of carriers have been moving, to help kind of supplement the losses that they've been seeing in the North Texas area in the last few years. A lot of carriers have moved towards requiring a bundle, which means you, along with getting a policy for your home, you're required to have an auto to bundle with that to be able to write the home policy. I see that happening with about a third of my carriers right now, and especially some of the bigger ones as well. So that's definitely a hurdle that we've run into recently. But with how many carriers we have at our disposal, we do have extra, different ones that'll take individual policies, which can even write a discount onto the policy if it's with a different carrier within our own agency, which is a really cool thing that we have that not many other people do. But yeah, the carriers have been moving towards more of like an automatic bundle to make sure that they get, the auto with the home, where they've been seeing a lot of home losses to kind of counteract those two things.
Yeah. So, and to recap what you're saying that, they've encountered so many losses, because of the storms and everything that have come through Texas, whether it's been hail, roof damage, et cetera, all of this stuff going on. They are starting to say, hey, we want the auto insurance also. So, you should not be surprised if you're shopping with, and really, Tyler, what you do and you're looking at, hey, does it make sense if you go with this carrier and I take your auto insurance from this amount over to this amount because this is what they're offering on auto insurance? Does it make sense to combine those things into one and basically advising the client on those things?
Exactly. I mean, when I look for a client, I'm always looking for the best price with the best coverages, whether it be as a combined bundle or individual policies on their own. But definitely, the combined home and auto bundle with individual carriers is usually the best way to go and giving you the best discounts available. That's always a route that I recommend. No two rates are the same, just like no two people's situations are the same. I have a lot of clients who say, well, my buddy right down the street, he's the same age as me. We have the same size house, X, Y, and Z, but he's paying half the amount as me. Now, there's so many different factors that go into it, like the age of your roof, the age of your house, how many claims you have, the area you live in, and then something called your insurance score. Now, your insurance score will actually be a combination of your consistency in paying insurance along with your credit score, things like how many claims you've had in the last year and the frequency of those claims. So things like that are definitely the biggest factors that will, go into that, and why no two quotes are ever the same. It's just like a snowflake. No two snowflakes are the same. No two insurance policies are ever the same based on somebody's background.
Yeah, Tyler, sometimes I try to explain this to people that, there are about 28 different factors that affect an interest rate on a mortgage. Okay. And insurance is kind of the same way. There's so many different factors. You might know, like, hey, your best friend, cousin, twice removed is that lives down the street is paying this amount for insurance. But you don't know that, well, he or she doesn't make a bunch of claims on their insurance, but every time you get a flat tire, you're calling roadside assistance to come, change the tire and everything. And that plays into your insurance score, them looking at, how many actual insurance claims you make. So these types of things are important, considerations. I appreciate you bringing that up. Hey, the third thing I wanted to talk about specifically, Tyler, can you talk about the difference between the actual cash value and the replacement costs on insurance?
So there's two different ways that insurance companies will determine the price to give you in the event of a claim. One is called actual cash value. One is called replacement costs. You might be familiar with actual cash value because that's how they determine the price of your vehicle in an auto claim. So it accounts depreciation into it and the actual value of the vehicle. So you buy a vehicle for $25,000 and you get into a wreck 5 years later, that vehicle is only worth about $10,000. And they're going to give you the price for the vehicle that it is at that day. That's the same thing that it would be for a house. So if you had actual cash value on your house and you were in a claim, say for your roof, this is the most common time, they're going to replace your roof at the cash value of what it's worth today and not what it costs to replace it entirely. And that's the biggest difference. The replacement cost will give you the cost to replace the roof or the dwelling at today's material and labor. And so that way you're made whole every single time, and there's a lot lower chance of you ever having to come out of pocket.
Roofs are some of the, in my opinion, you could say I'm wrong or correct me on this. This is one of the biggest variables, for how much an insurance, premium is going to cost. Would you agree or disagree?
100%. I'd say it's the second highest rating factor behind the age of the home itself.
Perfect. So this is if you're comparing mortgages, to the age of a roof, your age of the roof is equivalent to my credit score.
Correct.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit, because when we're doing a pre-approval, we're estimating, how much somebody's going to have to pay in homeowners insurance. When people say, hey, Major, what would my monthly payment be at X amount? I'm estimating what that monthly payment is going to be. Now, I don't know the actual home that you're going to go get. So, 90% of the time we're accurate. And we build in a little cushion there to say, hey, this is what you expect your monthly payment to be. sometimes we're off and your monthly payment is $200 higher because I didn't realize that you were going to go get choose this house where, the roof was 20 years old and has not been replaced and stuff like that.
The age of the roof the higher the age, the more the premium. And then there's even some instances where if the roof is too old, I've seen a lot of carriers switch to roofs being older than 10 years would have to have an actual cash value replacement. Now, as I always try to fight for replacement costs for my clients, because like I said, I never want to see my clients come out of pocket. So that age of the roof is a huge determining factor. I've seen even recently people who don't really have any other claims on their record, they'll replace their roof and have a claim as that claim, and then it'll reduce their premium usually about 30-40%. Just to give that an idea. So any roof that's under 5 years or younger is definitely obviously the best and the brightest. They're going to rate that the lowest. They're going to give that obviously the least amount of risk possible. Anything between 5 and 10 years, you're getting up there where they kind of determine the age of a roof in North Texas between being 5 and 7 years old, even though they call them 30-year-old roofs. So having it under 10 years is kind of the main threshold that I like to tell my clients before they have to start looking into replacing the roof or something like that, because then they'll start to see exponential rises on their cost of insurance come renewals.
You've helped educate me on some things that I did not know because, I'm in mortgages, okay? And I specialize in what I specialize in. But you have, opened my eyes to some things, some of those things, through experience that we've had with clients. And it was an eye-opening experience to say, wait a minute, how is this such a big deal? So talk about the impact of the individual having auto insurance or not on their premium and how that could affect your homeowner's insurance premium. So if you're one of these people who say, well, I'm just going to let my car insurance lapse and I'm going to buy a house in 3 or 4 months, that could end up being a less than optimal decision. How are the insurance companies viewing whether you have car insurance or not?
Of course. So it seems like, why would they include the car insurance when determining the price of the home insurance? But that's going to factor into your insurance score. So say you don't have, just like the situation you're talking about, say you're driving without auto insurance, but you're thinking about buying a new home. Whenever an expert like me goes to check on some of the background of your insurance and apply that towards the current policy, they're going to come back and say, well, considering that he hasn't paid for car insurance in X amount of months, that's going to be a lot bigger risk to them, which will result in a much higher premium. The lower the risk, the lower the premium every single time. So finding somebody who isn't responsible to holding on to their insurance without having a lapse, and even having coverages that aren't the state minimums, will also factor into scores and premiums for your home, which is usually something that people aren't aware of.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, hey, love it. Okay. Thanks for your education. Thanks for, helping add value to the home buying experience that you help add. And thanks for helping to just walk people through this and understand, why certain things are affecting their homeowners insurance. Now, I want to give people a bonus one here because, sometimes, people will find that their escrows are going up. Okay. We live in Texas. Texas is we live in DFW. It's a growing area. Now, what people don't realize is, hey, if I buy a house and the value of my house goes up, so does the amount of my property taxes. Okay. So if somebody's in this stage where they're refinancing or taking a look at, hey, my insurance premiums just went up, or my property taxes just went up, how can you help them, solve that problem of the property taxes just went up? How do I balance this thing out? How can you help them in that situation?
Perfect. And well, the great thing is that I always, me working for Goosehead, I don't work for any carrier. I actually work for the client specifically. So in helping them out in that scenario, like we said at the beginning, I have 80 different carriers at my disposal. Whenever somebody decides, hey, this insurance is looking a little bit higher than I was expecting it to be, that's when it's time to start shopping the market. And we take that off of your hands here at Goosehead. So we'll shop the market with every single carrier, find you the best available policy always on the market. And at the very worst, my clients are always going to leave being in their best position of possible, whether that's with me or a different carrier that I don't write with. I just always like to see my clients in the best position. So that being said, whenever we'd go in, we'd shop these rates, we'd find you a great solution. Once we found the solution, we go over it together. And then, I never try to decrease the coverages. That's one thing where with a captive carrier or just a carrier that can only search through one, that's their only option to ever decrease your prices, to decrease your coverages. We like to try to do the opposite, where we try to find better coverages at a lower price, get you the best of both worlds, because it is always available out there. Not every time, but it's definitely there.
All right, Tyler, as we wrap up here, talk about, current state of the market, the insurance market, some things we should be on the lookout for carriers. You talked about, many of the carriers are starting to bundle, home and auto. What are some other things we should be on the lookout for, in the area of insurance and homeowners insurance?
Definitely. So I'd say the biggest thing is a statewide move to 2% wind and hail deductibles, as opposed to the previous 1% that most people know and love. So starting at the beginning of the year, we're looking on the horizon to start to see some carriers re-enter the market. Which is great news, because that means lower premiums. The more competitive the market is with more carriers in it, the lower the premiums as a result. So that we see on the horizon new year, and that we're with a little bit of a softening in the market. But that being said, North Texas is still the hardest market to write in the entire state, and one of the hardest in the entire country. I'd say the only one that's behind in the whole country is probably the Florida markets. So just to kind of an idea of how tough it really is right now to find, a decent, a good premium and a good policy. But that being said, the market is cyclical. It'll all come back around, and we will start to see some relief. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and you should expect from your mortgage professional. Now, typically, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, typically, Tyler, it's really easy to get insurance on a brand new home, a new build.
That's correct. A new build will be the least riskiest insurance policy available for homeowners. So those will always be the most competitive policies on the market. Perfect.
Okay, so if you're buying a new build, you should expect, your policy, your insurance policy, to be pretty competitive, on that new build. Okay, now you also got to be realistic. Sometimes when you're getting quoted homeowners insurance, working with the builder's lender or something like that, they'll put homeowners insurance excessively low. Like I've seen like $110 on a $700,000 home. I'm like, yeah, bro, that ain't really happening. But you got to be aware of that. The other part is if you're buying a resale home or something like that, you got to be aware that, all of these factors that we've talked about over the last 20 minutes, they start to come into play. Age of the home and stuff like that. The most thorough agents that I work with, they'll text me like, hey, Major, think about putting an offer in on this home. The roof was replaced 1 year ago. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know how to better, prepare for that. But Simon, Tyler, I know, you've shared so much good information with us and added so much value to, home shoppers right now, because homeowners insurance is part of your monthly payment. And it could easily add $150 to $200 to your monthly payment. Okay. That you were not actually planning for. All right. So, I think, thank you very much, Tyler, for being with us. How do people get in touch with you, Tyler?
You can call me, email me, text me. I don't really take breaks, or I'm available all the time. So my phone number is 817-210-6690. And my Goosehead email is tyler.simon@goosehead.com. Pretty cut and dry, simple.
Perfect, Tyler. Hey, Thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Major. I really appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon.